The recent collapse of the national power grid in Nigeria has significantly disrupted activities of artisans and operations of businesses in Jos, the Plateau State capital, as inadequate power supply continues to mitigate against economic growth in the country. Ado Musa has more.
This week, Nigerians witnessed another collapse of their national grid, resulting in a crash in power generation from 4,032.8 megawatts to 43.5 megawatts. This all too familiar story continues to significantly impact numerous businesses in the country, with many unable to stay in business due to the instability of the sector. Some affected business owners in Jos say power shortage is severely crippling their operations and threatening their livelihoods.
Actually, we are facing a lot of problems in this area because now you see we didn't even do anything today because they are doing load shedding here. Today we don't have light. Now tomorrow they go give us light. And if our turn come another day, we no go get light till the other day. Actually, you see people are giving us work. If you promise somebody that you are going to finish his work at least in 1 week time, with this problem of electricity, it will take you almost 2 weeks or 3 weeks before you finish this work. You see, it's a challenge to us, and it also create problem with us, with our customers.
It really affects because without these lights, we don't have anything to do. No more work, no food at home, and we lack many things without the light.
If you look around, you see everybody sitting down because minus this light, we have nothing to do here, and the cost of the diesel is too high. So we don't even use the diesel. If you see, you can look around, you see the machine are almost dumped for long, and the light that we hope on, they are not giving us. For like, when of this light, we don't know, we don't have anything doing here. We just like we come to play. Be lightless, as you see, as I'm talking to you now. Look at all the engines, how they are. There's work, but there's no light. Look at all this wood that is stuck here. You can view the wood and see all is for sewing, but there's no light. We are suffering very, very well. There's nothing to talk about that. Look everywhere. Look at how a married man with children is sitting down. Okay, I lose some business because of lack of this light. The people came to buy the goods, then there's no light to sew it. You understand me? So that's how the people disturb me. I reflect their money back because I don't know how to do.
Adetayo Adebemle is the convener and executive director at Power Up Nigeria, an organization advocating electricity consumer rights and power sector policies. He speaks on the prevailing issues in Nigeria's power sector.
Of course, this is something that has been going on for a while. It didn't just start yesterday. Consumers have been complaining about one, lack of power supply. That's adequate power supply. That's number one. Number two is overbilling. Number three is lack of metering. Number four is the time it takes for distribution companies to respond to faults when they report faults. Then I think number five is another germane issue, is the fact that a lot of consumers invest in networks, by buying transformers, buying poles, buying cables, buying meters, and what they are not supposed to be doing.
The Power of Executive Director explains how the deteriorating state of power industry could be addressed.
We need consistency and we need knowledge experts. We don't need somebody just come in and start browbeating or first threatening consumers or stakeholders for them to deliver. No, we need people that can sit down and come up with sound policies for the sector.
For decades, successive governments have attempted to address the problems in the power sector without much success, as Nigerians continue to decry the endemic challenges and impact on their livelihood. Stakeholders believe that unless the federal government commits to addressing the gaps in the industry with sincerity, accountability and transparency, the power sector will remain in limbo to the detriment of national growth and development. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
The recent spike in the number of big multinational companies leaving Nigeria has been characterized as a bad omen for Nigeria's economy in light of the current trajectory. aside the job and revenue loss that will be occasioned by the exit of multinational companies, the comparative advantage that Nigeria recorded over the years is set to be wiped out due to the sluggish economic growth. Habibat Ajayi has more.
The Tinubu administration says Nigeria is open for business, but it is clear from the recent developments that some big-time multinational companies don't see the country as a viable economic option anymore. The most populous black nation in the world that has often been described as a consumer nation no longer looking promising to global markets like pharmaceutical giant GSK and consumer goods company Procure and Gamble, whom have shut down their operations in the country, leading to a spike in the prices of drugs and other consumables across the country.
Those companies that are leaving, they are producing locally. And because the environment wasn't conducive for them to continue to operate, that's why they are leaving. And for one or two of them that changed their business model to importation, it becomes difficult for local business because it's cheaper producing somewhere else because of our infrastructural gap. It's easier to produce somewhere else than to come and produce in the country. So it's a massive negative consequences if we don't address those issues and address them critically.
Economists express concern over the Nigerians' economic downturn despite the government's efforts to troubleshoot the ailing economic structures. Many Nigerians remain divided on the current trend, with some describing the situation as glass half full.
Call companies, give them money, empower them so that we'll embrace our own, and that's all. It's very simple. We have our own local. We don't need the foreign one to do it for us.
That's a very serious effect because it doesn't speak well of us, allowing them to go. Though it is because of the economic downturn. So, in fact,
financial services pros. These are vital industries that drive any economy. And if you think the best of the best in your country, it's certainly worrisome for a developed country. What we're, as I said, FX instability. So you can imagine a company that comes into Nigeria perhaps with $100 million. Let's even take Cano. Convert that at official rates would have been, roughly about 15 billion naira. Now, upon exit, you're looking actually, 1,000 naira to exit position.
Nigeria is currently ranked 131st in the world in the ease of doing business reports by the World Bank. As the biggest economy on the African continent, issues around insecurity and poor policy implementation must be curtailed to stop foreign companies from leaving and encouraging more foreign directive. Nigeria is currently ranked 131st in the world in the ease of doing business reports by the World Bank. As the biggest economy on the African continent, issues around insecurity and poor policy implementation must be curtailed to stop foreign companies from leaving and encouraging more foreign direct investment. Habibat Ajayi, Trust TV News, Abuja.
River State Commissioner for Justice and the Attorney General of the state, Zacchaeus Adango, has resigned his appointment as the State Commissioner of Justice. Adango, in his letter of resignation dated November 14, 2023, was addressed to Governor Sim Fubara, citing personal principle. The resignation of the commissioner comes on the heels of the demolition of the State House of Assembly at the instance of the governor, Simnalai Fubara, and presentation of the State Appropriation Bill by the governor to 4 members of the State House of Assembly led by Edison Ehi. Now, in a similar vein, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara on Thursday signed into law the 2024 Appropriation Bill of 800 billion naira, a day after he presented the budget estimate to the State House of Assembly led by Edison Ehi. Ehi and his loyalists subsequently approved the bill and the governor assented to it on Thursday. The signing ceremony was held in the conference room of the governor's office at the government house. And the ceremony was witnessed by Deputy Governor Ngozi Odu, some members of the State Executive Council, present and former lawmakers who support Governor Fubara, and some chairmen of the People's Democratic Party at the local government areas. The governor, in his address, said that the estimated 800 billion naira tagged budget of renewed hope, consolidation and continuity will be implemented to provide critical infrastructure like the second phase of the landmark Trans-Kalabari Road and meet the socio-economic needs of the people. Now, on his part, Edison Ehi, one of those contending the speakership seat in the Rivers State House of Assembly, commended the governor's foresight in expanding infrastructure and youth development through employment generation. In another twist to the ongoing political crisis in Rivers State, the Martins Ameule-led Rivers State House of Assembly convened a sitting on Thursday after the demolition of the assembly complex by the state government. The Ameule group held a plenary session at the auditorium of the assembly quarters on Aba Road despite a restraining court order. The sitting by the Ameule group came just a day after the five-man group led by Edison Ehi declared vacant 27 seats of the lawmakers in the Ameule group for defecting from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. During Thursday's plenary by the Ameule group, the lawmakers condemned the demolition of the assembly complex by the state government. In total, there were 26 lawmakers in attendance, even as the group decided to use the auditorium at the assembly quarters for their legislative sittings going forward. The Cano state government on Thursday agreed to pay 3 billion naira as compensation to incorporated trustees of Masalating Eid shop owners and Traders Association for the unlawful demolition of their property. The agreement was reached through an application and terms of settlement filed by counsel to parties before Justice Inyang Eko of a Federal High Court in Abuja. Following the demolition of the shops on Governor Abba Yusuf's order, 56 applicants on behalf of the association had filed the suit in the Cano division of the court. Justice Samuel Amobeda had on September 29 in a judgment ordered the state government to pay the traders 30 billion naira as compensation against the traders' 250 billion naira demand for the illegal demolition of their property. But following the refusal of the state government to obey the Cano court order, the traders filed an ex parte motion before Justice Eko seeking an order for Ganishi order Nisi attaching the funds of KSG, Nubda States AG, including but limited to Cano State Federal Account Allocation Committee FAC account. However, upon resumed hearing on Thursday, Counsel to the judgment creditors, N.A. Ayagi, informed the court that the parties had reached an agreement. The Supreme Court will on Friday, December 15, deliver judgment on the appeal seeking to compel the federal government to release the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, from detention. A five-member panel led by Justice Kudirat Kekere Ekun had in October fixed the date after counsel for both the federal government and the detained IPOB leader adopted their final briefs of argument. While Kanu Agabi led the IPOB leaders' team of lawyers, Mike Ezehome presented his appeal to the Apex Court panel. Now, Ezehome prayed the court to not only order the immediate release of his client from detention, but to equally award very heavy and punitive costs against the federal government. In his submission, however, counsel to the federal government, Tejani Ghazali, urged the Apex Court to uphold the amended brief of argument he filed on May 3, 2023. He prayed the court to uphold the FG's appeal, set aside the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which ordered Kanu's release, and order the resumption of his trial before the Federal High Court in Abuja on terrorism-related charges. You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up shortly. Farmers losing crops to strange disease in Katsina. Details and more after the break.
Why did you develop this reputation as somebody who is difficult to work with?
I will tell the truth. No matter whose ox is good, I will say exactly how it is.
This is why I actually sympathize with commissioners of nowadays. Where a commissioner sometimes is just a picture. You find somebody, even a cleaner and the governor's wife, can interfere with their abilities.
Even the ministers, there are very many who respected me simply because I never complained about them. I never went to ask for a favor. Never.
So none of that has happened?
Nothing.
But if it hasn't happened, do you have hope that now another government coming in?
There is no hope.
So you've given up
I've given
politics?
I've given up. It's gone, it's gone.
Retrenchment from work is a most hated thing by unions. It's loss of job means that is loss of life, in fact, for civil servants at that time.
Nigeria's economy, Nigeria's security, Nigeria's intelligence. This is what the materials we were handling. And I thought government would be very interested.
The reasons why you adopted federalism is not because of finesse, not because you like it. It's because of its functional utility.
To Jackpot for more fun. This season, there are loads of exciting content. Enjoy all the drama, intrigue, suspense, and romance in a wide range of telenovela series, Nollywood movies, Bollywood, kiddies program, and introducing our new kiddies channel, Wooing. After 5 years of waiting, the Nigeria Premier Football League is finally back, live and exclusively on Star Times.
Enjoy more this season with our Jackpot promo. Recharge 2 months on Classic or Super Bouquet and get 14 days free, or recharge 2 months and get upgraded to a higher bouquet. Wow! Recharge now and Jackpot for more fun and stand a chance to win Sundial TV and other fantastic gifts. Offer runs till January 20, 2024. Terms and conditions apply. Star Times. Entertain your family.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Here's a look at the top stories. Grid collapse disrupts businesses in Plateau State. Rivers Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General resigns amidst political crisis. In other news, Nigeria's highly underperforming health system means millions of Nigerians cannot access quality health care, thereby pushing citizens to either pay for the usually expensive private healthcare services or forgo seeking medical attention. This phenomenon is endangering the culture of willful negligence by Nigerians who seldom go to hospitals for routine medical checks. Jimmy Azande takes a look at the cost of this practice on lives of residents in Makurdi.
Prevention is better than cure. But many Nigerians have developed the habit of only going to the hospitals when they are incapacitated, a situation that usually leads to unavoidable deaths in the society. As per se, routine medical checks are not a luxury, but a necessity that can save lives in many cases, preventing the worst-case scenario.
People hardly ever have time, particularly in the cities, in the big cities, to sleep up to the minimum, which will be like 7 hours. When you lack sleep, a lot of things come up, particularly as it relates with a high blood pressure, which is a common thing among adult Nigerians. In those days, we say high blood pressure as a disease of the elderly.
I said only go for medical checkup. Because recently too, I had an issue, so one of my colleagues suggested I should go for test, and since I'm not going for test, and I had contacted somebody before, so he advised me to go for checkup. So at the moment, I can't tell if it is hernia that is wrong, disturbing me or infection actually. So well, as it is, I have no choice than to go for medical checkup, and this should be my first.
Because as a man or as a woman being, if you don't eat well, it affects the brain. Thinking about your children, your wife, your family, and that alone will make you not to sleep at the appropriate time you're supposed to sleep. And you discover you wake up even more earlier before the time you're supposed to wake up.
Experts are urging residents to be conscious of their health needs by heeding professional advice, despite the economic pressures in the country that is forcing Nigerians into overdrive, with more people unable to sleep or rest as much as they need to.
Cases like high blood pressure, if it is discovered immediately and you're going for medical checkup and treatment will be initiated along the line and you'll be fine. And another one is your sugar level, which we call as diabetes. It is very important of that age category to go for fasting blood sugar so that you'll be dictated. If you have good, the medical team will manage you appropriately. But if you're not going for medical checkup, it won't be easy for you to know. And if it is discovered at, let's say, lately, it will be difficult to manage, and it will cost you maybe your life. Even if your life is not involved, it will cost you a lot of resources to take care of.
There are at least 76.2 million Nigerians living with hypertension, and many more are expected to develop the diseases with its connection to stroke, kidney damage, heart attack, and other conditions which may lead to sudden death if not properly treated. Experts say going for a medical check can help nip the situation in the bud. As the saying goes, health is wealth. Jimmy Azandi, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
Crops worth millions of naira at the Dabiram irrigation site in Daura local government area of Katsina State may be destroyed by a strange disease. The crops shrink and dry before they mature for harvest. At a visit to the irrigation site by Trust TV News crew revealed that farmers are already apprehensive that they may record low harvest this season if relevant authorities do not come to their aid. Abdullahi Amadi tells us more.
Dabiram Dam is one of the major hubs of irrigation farming in Katsina State, where pepper, tomatoes, garden eggs, and a lot of other perishable and non-perishable crops are cultivated every year. From Dannakola to Rijiyar Samia in Daura and Sandamu local governments, farmers were seen busy working on an area covering about 12 to 13 kilometers. However, this year's irrigation season comes with mixed feelings of happiness and sorrow for farmers, largely due to this yet to be identified disease killing their crops before maturing, coupled with high cost of inputs. This is one disease we have been battling with since last year. The crops shrink and die before maturity. Look at it. This is worrisome. We appeal to relevant authorities to come to our rescue. The farmers who started noticing the strange disease on their crops last year admitted that several efforts made by governments and other relevant authorities to salvage the situation did not yield positive results. In spite of all these challenges, the farmers are hoping to cultivate vegetables and other produce for local consumption and possibly exports. Farming is our pride, but our main concern is lack of capital. We have sold everything to invest here. The price of fertilizers and pesticides is beyond our reach. A bag of fertilizer is sold at 30,000 naira and above. We buy a liter of petrol here at 950 naira. What do you expect at the end of the season? Most of our farm produce here are transported to Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, Sokoto, Cano, Wari, Benue, and Niger Republic before the border closure. We are expecting to start harvest in the next few weeks. According to them, if only governments and other stakeholders could pay attention to irrigation farming, especially in Daura and some parts of Katsina zones, the impacts of low farming activities occasioned by insecurity in the frontline local government areas would be reduced to the barest minimum. Experts suggest giving incentives to irrigation farmers at various clusters and locations to harness the potentials of the abundant water sources in Katsina, which would help in reducing threats of food insecurity in the country. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Now, away from Nigeria, a Senegal court has ordered jailed opposition leader Osman Sonko to be reinstated on the electoral register, a ruling that could pave the way for him to run in a February presidential election, Sonko's lawyer, Sire Cledo Lee, said on Thursday. Sonko has faced a flurry of court cases over the past 2 years for charges including libel and rape, which he denies. The cases against him have triggered deadly violence in the West African nation. Sonko, 49, was cleared of rape in June, but sentenced to a 2-year jail term after a court found him guilty of an offense described in the penal code as immoral behavior towards individuals younger than 21. He was arrested in July for insurrection and was struck off the electoral roll, a decision that potentially ruled him out of the February vote. And that's a wrap on the news update. You can watch more via all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching.